Hello, my astrology friends. This is Lada from AstroladaOfficial here with the 2023 marathon and with one of the most successful astrologers that we launched. Actually, that's Roma, and she started with us a little bit less than a year, and that was one of the most successful launches with incredible feedback and hundreds of orders from one interview. And Roma is back by popular demand, and she will lead us through the most important full moons and new moons of 2023. Hello, Roma. Welcome back. I'm excited because you're the queen of moon, the queen of the moon astrology.
Oh, my Lada, thank you so much for having me here. I am so blessed to be here. I am grateful to be here, and I am grateful that I'm given permission to be of service, of course. And so my task for the 2023 Astrology Marathon was to look at the new moons and full moons that are interesting, that are challenging, how to use them. And I will always take the prisma of astrology. So I would love to look at the new moon, at the full moon, and see how can we use it to strengthen our psychology. What exercises can we do? You know, how does this moment relate me to a situation or a person that that we know, so we have a better understanding of this new moon or of this full moon. And I love the 2023 marathon because it allows to do long-term planning. So you know what transits are coming, what is the most important event, and how to plan the bigger goals, you know, that they are in alignment and not against the energy of the moment. So I keep looking to the side because my screen is here with the new moons and the full moons. And
Don't worry. But you said how it translates you to psychology. Because the moon corresponds with our psychology, isn't it?
Yes. So let me explain that the moon is our emotional mind. It's our emotional reasoning. It's our emotional home. And what gives us emotions will put us into motion. This is the very basic idea of it. So if we have a healthy psychology, and I keep saying that, I keep repeating it, psychology is not something passive. Psychology is like a muscle. You can train your psychology. You can look at your psychology, take ownership of your psychology. Be very honest, create a space at least with yourself where you're able to say, I will not blame, I will not shame, I will not guilt. I just want to see, who am I? What works in my favor? And where did I see repeatedly good results because of how I behave? And where did I see challenges? You know, where can I adjust? Besides that, if you're alive, you will evolve, so you will change, and you will have to make this readjustment probably every few months.
Well, obviously, if the moon rules our psychology, you're also a psychologist. If the moon rules our psychology, the moon is the planet that changes the most. It changes its phase every day.
Yes.
So obviously, our psychology is changeable. It's not destiny. It's not, our destiny is our psychology. But if it's changeable, so is our destiny, which is
Yes.
here. By the way, I want to say that Roma is making a gift to, like everyone is offering some kind of a nice promotional reading or discount, and Roma is offering her best-selling. I mean, last time, I don't know, 500 orders. I don't know how many.
It was big.
It was incredible. She's done it for me as well. She takes your moon and looks at your psychology and the strengths and the weaknesses and habits that you can form or avoid. It's just incredible reading. Is extremely affordable. Roma is very reasonably priced, and she's even giving a discount for the new year. So if you book your reading now, this time maybe we'll close off early if there are too many readings, so just a certain amount. So check it out. This is the offering from Roma, but now you have the word.
Okay, thank you very much. So I started with the new moon. The first one that I found interesting, right, from the point of psychology, was the new moon on the 21st of January. It's the first new moon for the year. It's in the sign of Aquarius. Naturally, I have a big love for Aquarius. Am I biased? If I am human, I am biased. So probably there will be some sign in the zodiacs that I love a little bit more, and Aquarius is one of them. What I admire about Aquarius is that it has this intellectual detachment. So it allows us to look at difficult topics, and it allows us to say, you know, I will not be soaked into this difficult topic, but I will do my best to find a solution. And during a new moon, the moon and the sun come together, so they hug. The moon is in the sign of Aquarius, and so is the sun also in the sign of Aquarius. And usually the new moon alone does not suffice for a strong manifestation. But what happens is your moon, so your mind, starts going into thinking patterns that are repeating in connection with the sign where the moon is in. So suddenly you have an urge, suddenly you have an idea, you want to, you know, it keeps reoccurring in your mind. And now your sun, this is how you express yourself to the outer world. This is your social expression. This is your social identity. These are your goals. This is your career, because our identity, very often, if you are blessed, if you are lucky, is expressed through your career, right? So in connection with that, you will look at community. So Aquarius represents community. It represents a group of people that you connect with through a certain idea. It cuts horizontally through society. You will not look at what they have, what they don't have, you know, how they differ from you, but where is the connection between people and where they meet, where the mind meets, where they are intellectually connected, in an idea connected, where do you have the same intellectual goal as I do? Now, what is special about this new moon for me is that the sun and the moon cuddle with the Lord of the Underworld. The Lord of the Underworld is Pluto, right? And he's very close to the new moon. The new moon is on the first degree of Aquarius, and Pluto, which represents, you know, our shadows and our traumas, in a sign of Capricorn, and that's fear connecting to the past, right? They are all together. They are all together. Now, if you can't take the heat, you can't enter the kitchen. But in this case, you can take the heat. Why? Because you are detached. You are sufficiently detached to look at the very difficult topics. Plus, what works additionally in our favor is that Pluto is in a different sign. He's not in Aquarius. So you have a little bit of a curtain situation going on. And additionally to that, so there's more. I'm selling you this new moon, there's more, right? Pluto is in the last degrees of the signs, and usually a planet in the middle degrees of the sign has a strong, bold manifestation, and here it's like, have a last look, have a last look. Now, so just to summarize, you have the ability to look at something that was difficult within your community, right? So the intellectual community that you belong to, or the community of purpose that you belong to, there was a trauma, and it can have been generational as well. Pluto is a generational planet. And you have the ability to look at it, but in a detached manner. You will not pity, you will not sympathize, empathize so much. You are very solution focused. I think if Aquarius has one Achilles heel, it would be that it's too detached at times. So it doesn't have sufficient emotion to be put into motion. It does not have that. It has very much this Marcus Aurelius approach, or there is nothing new under the sun. You know, you go to an Aquarius strong. Truly, it is. You go to somebody who has a strong Aquarius in that chart, and you tell them, oh, this and this has happened. There's zero emotional reaction. There is solution. There was a breakdown of what, you know, what was done correctly, what was done wrongly. But you won't get a hug. You won't get an emotional hug from these people. And this is their beauty. If you want a hug, you go to a Cancer person. But their beauty is in finding the solution, the straight way forward. Now, according to Nicola Stojanovich's degree theory, the first degree stands for the Aries degree. So if we have the new moon in Aquarius, in the Aries degree, it will put this Aries energy filter on this beautiful new moon, and having this filter on it. And Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's the warrior energy. It's the go-getter energy. It wants to proceed. It wants to get things done. So this energy will help us to get up. This energy will help us to get going, you know. Look at something that has caused problems, don't like the word, I truly don't, challenges, right? Within the intellectual community that you are in, then you can do it in a detached way. You can find the solutions and you are moved into action. And the ruler of Aries, which is Mars, is making a beautiful trine to this new moon. So this is a great way to, make a clean cut, make a clean progress. There's very little running around in circle. There's very little error that is happening. It's really looking at the challenge, finding the solution to the challenge, and proceeding. It's very clear. It's very, very, very clear. And this is what I admire about this new moon. This is, I feel, how we can use it the best way.
I love the interpretation. Can I add on also as because it's falling on my ascendant exactly, and I would also add that it's not only community, that would be your goals, your long-term goals and plans that you do some progress on, and you can see what with Pluto, what is basically toxic or not right there, and transform it. Your long-term goals, business, I would say, your dreams and goals as well. So that's as well part of that.
Yes, I agree. I agree with it 100%. So especially if you have this new moon on the ascendant, because Pluto is a little bit further away in the other sign, not too far away, but it's in the other sign, right? A few degrees away. So I feel, if there was a trauma situation, and it doesn't refer only to your chart, this can be seen in general. I feel that not every trauma should be dissected or, can be even healed through, or you make a therapeutic post-mortem through it, and you work through it, and you find your healing in it. Sometimes, rarely, but sometimes, you have to look at an overwhelming situation, and the best you can do, your personal best, is never to look at it again, but you have to make the decision. The best way for me to proceed is never to look at it again. And this is how I remain functional. This is how I can have progress. It happens not often, but it happens sometimes, And
I feel we have to cut off something. That's it.
Just cut off something. It's, it's like the Bible story of the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. The two cities that were not righteous, and they were destroyed, but there was a good family in this city, and an angel was sent to lead the family out. So the condition was, we lead you out, but don't turn around. If you turn around, you will be swallowed by this event, right? We had this in mythology as well with Tristan and Isolde. So they wanted to get married. And during the ceremony, Isolde stepped on a snake, and the snake bit her. She died. She went to the underworld, and Tristan was destroyed. He was playing music that was very sad, and he moved the gods to tears, and the gods felt pity with him, and they said, no, go in the underworld and get your woman, get your woman back. But the condition is, don't turn around. Through a twist of circumstances, they have turned around, and she could not exit the underworld anymore, right?
That's the same like Orpheus story. Orpheus did the same with his Ariadne, or whatever the name was. So sometimes it's not always about digging into the wound. Sometimes, like with this new moon in Aquarius, it's cut off. Cut it off, spit out the poison, and don't look back.
The best thing you can do is cut off. The best thing, because you might not get an apology if you're expecting, for example, an apology, and you might not be able to get it, right? So do your okay, Lada, are you here?
Yeah, I just switched off my camera.
Okay, perfect. So the next new moon that I am looking at is 21st of March. I saw this new moon, and the first thing that came to my mind was the Nina Simone song. Do you know this? I'm feeling good. It's a new day. It's a new dawn, especially this section of the song. It's a new day. It's a new dawn, and I'm feeling good.
Right, because the beginning of the year, yeah.
They're just, I know, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying it's necessary. It is good, and it is needed. And there are so many new beginnings that are happening around this new moon. So we have in one part of the chart within 51 degrees, going from 25 degrees of Pisces into 16 degrees of Taurus, 9 planets, actually 8 planets and 1 and 1 point of which 5 planets are in the sign of Aries. And Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's the initiator, it's the go-getter, it's the warrior energy. It is a very, very important energy for the year 2023. It is paramount
that we can see that chart. Is there a way like you can show us a picture, or it's on your laptop?
It's on the laptop, but I shall have it on the phone. So I will do my best to press the correct buttons. I will go on more. Then
I'll make you co-host so you can share screen if you can.
I chat meeting settings. So I have.
So you're not. So I don't interrupt you. What I can do is, I can find each new moon you're talking about and share quickly the chart of each one. How is that sound?
Oh, that sounds beautifully. That sounds great. So I will continue explaining the new moon. So what is happening here is that we have many new beginnings happening within a period of 48, 72 hours. And this is firstly the moon being in the 0 degrees of Aries, so it's a new day, it's a new dawn, and the sun being 0 degrees of Aries, it's a new day, it's a new dawn. We have the equinox, right? And this is a few minutes before midnight, going from March 21st, 2023. And this is a new day, this is a new dawn, this is the astrological new year. This is when the sun is moving into the first sign of the zodiac and gives us the strength and gives us the initiation, there we go, and gives us the ability to make a new beginning, to make a new start. This is when the earth comes alive. This is a very strong sexual energy in the northern hemisphere. All right, and on March 23rd, 12:12 Greenwich Mean Time is when Pluto is moving in the sign of Aquarius, and this is a new day, this is a new dawn. I can't wait for all the babies to be born that have Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, because I think they will be exceptionally leaders if they manage to manifest in the highest vibration of what is possible with Aquarius, what is possible with Pluto. This will be exceptional leadership skills that they are bringing to the surface.
Or
right?
cyborg. One of the other.
Yes, this is possible. This is possible. But what I feel is important to look at in the year 2023 when it comes to your psychology is it is the warrior energy. And I would love us, I'm suggesting that we step away from thinking as the warrior as a gangster or street fighter, as somebody who is aggressive or vulgar. But this is a very noble energy. The warrior energy is a very noble energy. And because the North Node will be moving into the sign of Aries, it will become important in my psychology that we are able to say what we need, what we want, what our goals are, and how to proceed. Now, it sounds easy. It is not. It is not. It is not easy for everyone to be able to say, especially when being in a relationship, because the South Node will move into the sign of Libra. So it will, put its own challenges on relationships that we are in. So sometimes it's easy for us to say, okay, in my career, for my personal goals, these are my needs, these are my wants. But in the scenario of an interpersonal dynamic, being in a relationship, this is when it becomes difficult. This is when it becomes a little bit challenging to say, this is what I need, this is what I want. And especially in the calls that I had with women, because, I have mostly women. So women are my thing, right? And in the calls with women born, especially between 80s and 90s, the topics that came up repeatedly was, I am in this relationship for years, so I am in a marriage for years, and I have a hard time voicing what I want. I have a hard time saying what I want, because I was raised with the belief that, a good girl adjusts. she confirms, she doesn't rock the boat. And if you start saying what you want, if you start asking for what you want, this is when you start becoming uncomfortable. And a good girl asking for what she wants is a stingy girl, and it is not a good girl anymore. So especially the women born 80s to 90s have identified this unfortunate belief that was installed in them, right? And wanted to unlearn it and wanted to learn different ways how to go about it, how to voice it. And often there was this scenario of howling, bawling in anger. You know, how could the women of my family teach me something like that, because this was wrong, and this has costed me a big time restriction in the personal expression in my relationship. Because what they have noticed as well is if they ask in their relationship for what they want, they are receiving it very easily. It's given to them very easily. So there's this sense of regret. Why haven't I asked earlier? And I think as a high quality woman, you would like to be able to ask for what you want in a way that is easy, that is elegant, that is ladylike. And teaching yourself that, for that you need a good, strong inner warrior. And this is what 2023 is about. I also feel that the generation of women 90 to 2000, they are very smooth about it. They are very elegant about it. So I feel the exercises in psychology that we should do in connection with this new moon is when priming is done in the morning. And my assumption is that many of us do priming that are, visitors on this channel, because it's about spiritual evolvement. Add the question to your priming: if I had no fear today, what would I do for the day? If I had no fear today, what would I do for the day? And no fear. If you were holding no fear, right? What would I do for a day? And I was doing this exercise since a while, and it was causing a little bit of havoc, but it was very good in general. And I can speak for myself. The result it had on me was that I was doing quite the same that I was planning to do for the day, but I was doing it with more stamina, with more conviction. I was doing it with more enthusiasm, with more care, there was more love, It's almost as if holding of fear was restricting you in giving the love that is necessary into the items, letting it flow into your family, into the people, into the items, into the other people. There were less obstacles with other people. There were less voices that are talking against you. And this brings me to a very important topic. So across history, the warrior class in times of peace was the class that paid a lot of attention to personal grooming, and it paid a lot of attention to ornaments, a lot of attention to how present themselves. And this connected very much to understanding how to prevent war, how to prevent an argument, because the warrior class was the class that understood the cost of war. It understood the cost that it brings in life, and the widows and orphans, and the ripple effect that it creates. So the goal of a real warrior is to achieve your goal without going into war, but being ready for it. And they have found a way of, just by using the way you present yourself, by using the way you groom yourself, you stand, the way you walk, the way you speak to people, to create a strength around that will take you will allow you to be taken very seriously. And people will think twice: do I want to rattle on this person? Do I want to rattle on their goals? Do I want to rattle on provoke them? So I think going into areas, your individualism needs to be put into the forefront a little bit. And what I've also seen when researching, what does connect to Aries, what does connect to the warrior? There was a psychologist, American psychologist, his name is William McDowell, and he was traveling in Asia. He was traveling in Borneo. Right, so this is an island in Asia, and here I've noticed, okay, the tribes around the coast are very peaceful. And when you go more inland, when you go inside, up the rivers, inside the island, the more you go in, the more warlike these tribes seem to become. And the difference that he has noticed was that the people that lived in utter peace, and I am a pacifist, so I am not going into a promotion of war of any kind, but just your strength, your inner strength, and how to achieve your goals. The difference that he has noticed is that in the warlike societies, the houses were built in a more stable way. They were cleaner, they were bigger, they were physically stronger, they were mentally more alert, they were more active and more trustworthy. So these were, I think these were the main differences. So is it important to awake our inner warrior? Definitely. In 2023, definitely, right?
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah,
You don't
I think
necessarily
there's
do it by fighting. You can do it just by strengthening how you look, by
yeah,
the posture, a little bit like, rooster
yeah.
as well.
I feel that communication speaking is only this is a very little peanut of communication that is going on. You know, a big part of communication, if you want to be braver around people or you go into an environment that stresses you, that might challenge you, is very much pay attention to your grooming. Pay attention to how you walk, copy this from people that you assume to your understanding of reality, strong people. If there's one aspect in this new moon that I'm not a big fan of, it's Mars in Gemini making a hard aspect to Neptune, and then receiving a good aspect for Saturn, right? So see, every period of time holds a certain character, and this this period of time connects to the story. I want to tell you a story, and it will remain as anonymous as possible, but just that you get an idea what to watch out for. So there was an individual, and this individual had a bank account at a certain institution. And then from this bank account, a little amount was deducted, a really small amount, it were peanuts. And this individual didn't recognize this amount, but I mean, it's Mars in the sign of Gemini, and Mars is a go-getter. Gemini is curious. It wants to go to the bottom of things. It wants to figure out. So this individual went to the bank and asked, what is this deduction for? And the bank claimed it was an insurance. And this individual said, no, this is an impossibility because I have different accounts, and one account is dedicated just to insurances and matters of this nature. And this is the aspect between Mars and Saturn. You're organized, you have your ducks in a row, you know what is happening. And this individual insisted on an investigation to be made. Right, and this is again Mars being in a sign of Gemini. I will not give in. I want to know what's happening here. And the investigation was made. What turned out, which was never prosecuted or made loud, was that the institution itself has deducted this money from multiple accounts because this institution was about to be sold. So it was like a last money-making thing, caught or not, you will see. So this is Mars in a hard aspect to Neptune. Right, Mars in a heart, a little bit, but there's this Russian proverb that small thieves hang and the big thieves walk free. I don't know if you know it.
Absolutely, we can see it in the
So just be mindful here, just be a little bit careful here, If you stand up, you recognize it, you will get back what was taken from you, but don't pursue it further because it has no I don't think you will get anywhere. So anyway, let us proceed, right? Let us proceed. I am talking so much. I'm taking a little bit more time for a new moon and full moon that I want. So I want to skip forward a little bit to a full moon that really touched my heart. And then as much time as we have, I will go to the other new moons and full moons. So the full moon that I am referring to is on the 27th of November. 2023. All right, and it's a full moon in the sign of Gemini. So imagine the following. It's November 2027. The days are getting shorter. It's getting colder. You're craving more carbs. This is what is happening in the northern hemisphere, right? And during a full moon, the sun and the moon are in opposition to each other. Opposition traditionally is understood as a push and pull energy. But you know what? We want to use the highest manifestation of something. So we would like to achieve the goal of your emotional mind, your psychology being able, even if there are obstacles, to express itself to the outer world. And this is what is happening preferably during a full moon, that the accumulation of it is achieved. Okay, now the moon, sorry, the sun is in the sign of Sagittarius, Mars is in the sign of Sagittarius, Mercury is in the sign of Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is a happy-go-lucky sign. Sagittarius is the luckiest sign of the zodiac. It's ruled by Jupiter, and I think it needs to be lucky to survive its optimism. because you know, Sagittarius might have the sudden spontaneous ideas. It is a fire sign. So it might say, oh, I'm jumping off the roof, you know, and then Jupiter comes and says, no, you get hooked on the jacket because you will not survive the jump from the roof. So it is.
Love how you describe it.
But I have a big love for Sagittarius because they are truth seekers, because they see the truth and they don't have an attachment of, or they don't assign judgment to it. So for them, there's not a feeling of something being right or wrong. It just is, right? And they are very straight shooters. They don't have a filter when they speak. You must never take it personally with a Sagittarius. Usually it's not to put you down. It's just they have observed something and they are sharing it straight up. And it's an energy that likes to expand its mind, that wants to dip into foreign cultures, foreign religions, foreign food, worldviews. So it is a very curious energy, you know. It doesn't say that just what I know is the correct way of life. No, let us look a little bit more beyond our horizon, right? So when the sun is in Sagittarius, Mars is in Sagittarius, Mercury is in Sagittarius, we have a very strong Sagittarian energy in opposition to Gemini. Additionally, it gives this curious mind, and it's squaring Saturn, right? So the moon in square to the Saturn can give you in your quiet moments self-doubt, right? So you need to counteract that through giving yourself a lot of love, you know, self-love. Preferably prior to this full moon, if you could write down at least 20 things that you love about yourself, that you value about yourself, right? That you are good at, and then 20 things that you express well into the world, that you know, contributing into the world, and keep looking at this list. Keep remembering that this is who you are, because you will need it. This full moon correctly used is about stepping into your own power, because Pluto is superbly aspected. You want to step into your own power, and this will not happen unless you are grounded in some area. And Saturn being squared means that mainstream will not be happy with what you are producing, but you know, the people that are holding the real power, the circumstances that are holding the real power, will be very much impressed. So do you need to be brave? Yes. Do not doubt yourself. Do not doubt yourself. And I feel that in order to understand the character of this full moon, I would like to summarize a historical figure that to me represents 100% this character, right? So that was Frederick II, and he was born in quite unusual circumstances because his mother was 40 years old. So he was from the 12th century. His mother was 40 years old when she was pregnant with him. And nowadays, if you are 40 years old, you're a mature mother. In the Middle Ages, it was, you know, there was almost a worry of, is there trickery? Is there something wrong? Is there, what is happening? Is she really pregnant, right? Because you are a great granny at that age. So her husband, which was Henry,
yeah, by that age then, yeah.
yes, so her husband, Henry VI, okay, the marriage was not cream with peaches, but he was also under pressure to prove that this pregnancy is not a trickery. Said that she, or ordered that she has to give birth on a marketplace, you know, publicly on a marketplace, but he has not said where. And she has chosen a small village, and she built a tent, and she gave birth to her son. And that was Frederick II, and he then was orphaned at age 4. So he has inherited the kingdom of Sicily from the side of his mother, the kingdom of Germany, Italy. He was king of Jerusalem and Holy Roman Emperor. but he was neglected initially as a child because his parents were dead. So the normal opus moderandi is that you get a teacher, usually from the church, that shapes you into the figure they imagine you would need to be in order to rule the Holy Roman Empire, right? He did not have that. And he grew up, and that was his biggest blessings, because he grew up on the streets of Palermo in Sicily, and Palermo is a coast. So there are many cultures, there are many influences. People are living peacefully together of different cultures, and they don't want to fight, because if you fight, you don't do business and you want to trade. So this is the main motivation why they stay peacefully together. So he grows up on the streets, and this allows him to learn 6 languages. He was fluent in Latin, Sicilian. Probably there's a different name to Sicilian back then in 12th century, but let's stick to Sicilian. It was Greek, it was Arabic, it was Middle High German, it was Old French. So he's fluent in all these languages. And not only, I think he might have been fluent in Hebrew as well, but I think this is not to be found in the history books, because who is the Holy Roman Emperor and fluent in Hebrew? There's a little bit of a marketing contradiction in that. So this is my assumption, but it's not in the history books, because Jewish people were very much on the island of Sicily as well, right? But this aside, so if you grow up on the streets of Sicily, you will, and he was playing with the children, you have these friendships that are forming. You have, a heart-to-heart connection. You will argue with people, make up again. You will meet their mothers. You might be invited for a meal. You know what food they are eating. You know what prayer they say before they start eating their food. So there's a very big understanding, very big access to different cultures that he would not have had if he grew up the traditional way. And this is the Sagittarius Sun and Sagittarius Mars, and the Mercury being in the sign of Sagittarius. Of course, he needed to be intelligent. So it's the Gemini moon. Gemini is a very, very intellectual, intelligent sign.
And street smart. Gemini is very street smart. They are very
street smart.
Know what to do in every situation. Bam, bam, bam.
Yes, it's a very street smart energy and very adjustable energy. And Nietzsche called him the first European. In the history books, he's called the first modern ruler. So he was very advanced simply because of the fact that he grew up the way he did, and he had access to the people. And what was also interesting about him throughout his life, the people that he allowed the closest to him, so closest, I mean that they were allowed to touch his body, because you're not allowed to touch a king, right? To approach a king. It's the sun. You get burnt if you touch that. But the people that were allowed the closest to him, these were the Arab people. So he kept a harem of Arabic women, and the personal bodyguards were Arab people as well. The physicians were Arab people. And my assumption is because the founder of the Arab religion, 5th century Islam, was founded, so most of the Arab people must have been, to my assumption, Muslim. So when he came in touch with them, and this is a religion that is autopractical, if the founder was an orphan, if the founder of the religion was an orphan, and Henrik II is an orphan, I think he has received extra kindness from these people, because they saw an association, they saw a connection there. And I feel this is imprinted on his moon. And if something imprints on your moon in childhood, this tends, in a kind way, it tends to stay with you for life. So throughout life, imagine that you're the Holy Roman Emperor, but the people closest to you, that you choose to give your trust and allow closest to you, are Arab people. These are Arab people. Was mainstream happy with that? No. And this is the square from Saturn. Did he care? No. And this is the blessing of Pluto, because it made him unpredictable in the way he behaved. And unpredictability gives power. And this is where Pluto blesses the whole chart. So you have to be brave to be unusual, but it will allow you to step into your own power. It will allow you to step into your own power. And and this is why the moon is so important. If something imprints on your moon during childhood, even adulthood, it tends to stay in your emotional home. It tends to really mark you throughout life. Same with, it was Henry II, King of France, right? I'm giving examples, just historical examples, just to see what the moon can do to you. So when he was little, he's in a very good position, the son of the king. And then As a king, you can be executed the next day. That's the nature of a king. You're high up, you can be low down. Right? It's very dangerous to be a king and short-lived business, so to speak. So, so he was about to be taken away to prison with his brother, I think, and his mother, about to be executed, and he's a child at that time. And Diane de Portois comes to him and she hugs him. She felt sorry for him. She felt sorry for him in that moment. So nobody else touched him or said, I can understand that you are scared. You are a little boy, you know, you were the king's son yesterday, and now you don't know if you will get beheaded possibly, right? And nobody wants to touch the king. You're not allowed to do that. Nobody wants to say words of kindness, because then you're showing that you belong to his side, so it made it dangerous for you as well. But she comes forward and she hugs him and shows compassion, right? And this is a woman that was 20 years older than him. When he becomes king, the first thing he does is he makes her his mistress, and she remains his mistress and has a huge influence on him until the day she dies. She's 20 years older than him, but in a moment of despair, when the moon was under pressure, she came and she gave him a hug, and he said, I understand you are scared. I feel so, you know, I give you all the love right now. And this stayed to him throughout all the years until he became king. He found his emotional home with this woman. Didn't matter that she was 20 years older. She was his emotional home. And this hug changed her life, her course of life. There are hugs like this, right?
I forgot we were talking astrology, but I'm so deep into the story. It's like you're just an amazing storyteller and psychologist. Guys, hug your children. Guys and
yeah, guide them, hug them. You know, they grow up so quickly, and the moon will thank you. If you don't know what else to do, you know, just stroke their head, touch their shoulder. If conversation is broken down, you know, if you cannot speak without going into a tense situation, just give them a touch, just give them a hug, just give them a stroke. We all suckers with it. We all loved it, you know, if we are honest, we all loved it. Okay, so the next new moon that I am looking at is on 17th of July. So July 17th, 2023. And it's a new moon in the sign of Cancer. And Cancer represents women, it represents family, it represents home, it represents home with food, you know, the memories that are attached to it. Sometimes you smell certain foods and they just make you feel like, oh my God, I am at home now. I am so happy now. The moon in the sign of Cancer is very comfortable. It's the sign that is the sign of rulership for Cancer. The sun is in the sign of Cancer as well. We said during a new moon, the sun and the moon give a hug to each other, and it's at 24 degrees. So according to Nicola Stojanovic degree theory, this is the degree of Pisces. And Pisces is about cycles coming to an end. Pisces on its higher vibration is about forgiveness. It is, you have to be very mindful here. I would love you to pay attention actively to that you don't slip into victimizing yourself, self-sacrificing yourself, martyrdom. This is also an energy that comes very naturally to Pisces, but we would love, in order to grow in our psychology, grow in our strength, we would like to avoid it, right? So we have to be conscious about it, because your free will and your conscious effort will always outweigh the difficult aspects in a chart.
Can I just say, this new moon exactly describes the story you told of King Henry II. Here is a little child, moon and the sun in Cancer, who is afraid for his life, Pluto, existential threat of Neptune.
Oh,
and there's an angel that comes and hugs him, Neptune, kind to the moon and the sun and the moon on the Neptune degree, shows him compassion. And in Cancer, hug, a comfort. And it's the story that you said is exactly that. new moon in Cancer.
Oh, yes. Now that you're telling the story, I can see the story in the chat. You are right. And even the fear of possibly losing one's life, you know, Mars in opposition to Saturn, it's all there.
And
It
Pluto
is really,
opposition as well. Pluto is fear of
yeah, and
death.
Pluto is there.
Yeah.
Yes, and Pluto is there. So everything, the whole story is in, in the chart. That would be actually an interesting topic, looking at the chart and telling the story of it, you know? Okay, but this new moon, when I look at it, the first initiative that comes to my mind, you know, how do I use the energies of this moment, is for generational healing. This is very much about generational healing for me. So in mainstream psychology, generational healing, going one generation back, was definitely attempted with psychoanalysis. You go back to the generation of your parents, and I mean, we owe so much to Sigmund Freud, because he has introduced the subconscious to science, right? Without him, the subconscious would not be part of an understanding of psychology. Some things, when I read about him, when I read his books, when I read about how he presented himself, I think there's a little bit of an air of narcissism around him, but this is just my perception. And I feel that this is what was necessary in his character in order to be taken seriously without being contradicted, right? So he had the character traits that made it possible for subconscious to be introduced into psychology. But anyway, the challenge that I have with psychoanalysis is that, I give you an example. Let's say there is a woman that loves to wear flat shoes or sport shoes repeatedly. And as a psychoanalyst, you can say, you know, your parents wanted you to be a boy, and therefore you don't like to wear high heels. You like to wear flat shoes or sporty shoes. And if she says, yes, you are right, the psychoanalyst is right. If she says, no, you are wrong, then she's in denial and the psychoanalyst is right. So I think, you know, it was definitely the attempt to introduce generational healing to the idea of psychology. And this is very much possible during this new moon, because this new moon is in opposition to Pluto. By then, Pluto has moved again into the sign of Capricorn. It is again on the last degree. And it says, okay, look a little bit deeper, right, at what are the patterns in your family, especially the patterns of women in your family. What are the things that, this would be the main exercise I feel, and here I'm leaning strongly on Natalia Kobelinka's exercises that she suggests repeatedly in order to see patterns within a family. It would be write down what the women in your family are good at, even the men in your family are good at. I just swing to the women because the moon is in the sign of Cancer, and this is a very feminine energy. So what are they good at, and what are the challenges that the women in your family had, that they were holding? What did they struggle with? What is the psychology behind the struggle? And try to identify it, because by identifying it and asking for guidance and asking for permission to do better in this lifetime, you are adjusting the energy. And you can do that perfectly by yourself, right? So I just want to tell a story at how far, right, generational conflict or the memory of DNA can go. And one of the stories is from my family, and it only came to the surface recently. Like, I only got to know about it within the last year. So I had, on my mother's side of the family, a great grandmother, and this grandmother had a child out of wedlock at a time when you shouldn't have a child out of wedlock. And it was a girl that was born, and it was her, it's such a hard thing to say, but it was her biggest regret to have this child, and she was probably not always the best mother to this child. And there was a lot of pain for her that was connected around the topic of having a child out of wedlock. And from this great grandmother onwards, I don't even know how many generations this goes down, but when we trace the family tree, a pattern occurred. And the pattern was that to every couple in this family, the firstborn was a daughter. So the first child that was born was a female child, it was a daughter, and the relationship between mother and daughter was a tense one initially. And from generation to generation, it takes a little bit shorter amount of time right? A little bit of a shorter amount of time for this relationship to be remedied, to become calm, to heal. So effort needs to be made, but it's, if for example, the great grandmother could never heal it, with the next generation, it was like, it took you 20 years, then it took you 10 years. And it, like, this gap of misunderstanding becomes smaller, but her pain was so profound to be outcasted from society that it dragged generationally. I also had a client who, oh, Lada, if I don't tear up, so she wanted to have a baby. She really wanted to have a child. And it didn't work out. There were obstacles, and her chart suggested something that is connected to generational obstacles, you know. And so we spoke about how how is the fertility within the women of your family, you know, how do they conceive? Tell me about them having children. And it was not her mother, it was her grandmother who had children during the Second World War, still little babies, and she was in a country that was involved in the Second World War. So there was a struggle for food, for shelter, for warmth, for basic needs of children to raise children. And it came to the point that the grandmother was in the position to needing to decide, you know, do I watch my children starve, or do I take their life and make it a little bit easier on them? So there was this huge decision that needed to be made. What is the best way forward? Like, I'm tearing up because it's beyond your control. To have children, you know, everything is fine, then the war breaks out, then you have no food. You have children. As a mother, it's insane to be in the position to needing to have even these thoughts, right? Even, I'm sorry, even the thoughts of, what do I do now? Do I make it easier on them this way, or what do we do now? And she carried such a pain in her, right? She carried such a pain in her of the pain that her children were exposed to, right? That might have caused the idea of, it's not always good to have children, or it's not safe to have children because you don't always know what's coming. And maybe you might be in a situation where you cannot see to your children, you cannot feed your children. Yeah. Right. And it was a whole topic around, you know, talking to this grandmother and saying, to the best of my ability, you know, these are my savings, these are my skills. I will always have a job, God willing, you know, I will be able to provide for this child. I will be able to make it easy for this child. But this woman held so much fear, is my assumption, so much fear around, I should have never had children because I didn't know it can turn out that way, that it dripped generationally. It literally, you know, it fell generationally. So this is very much about generational healing. You will need to do a little bit digging, but Pluto will support you in generational digging, right? Because the juicy stories are never something that is en vogue in your family, that is not spoken, it's not spoken about probably over the dinner table. Yeah. But yeah. But, you know, I feel if you work with the energy of a planet, or symbolism of a planet, and Pluto will be researched, then this planet feels as if you give a sacrifice to them. So it supports you. And if you say, okay, my intention is to find out more, because what I see doesn't make sense. So if it doesn't make sense, it's not true. And therefore, there must be a few pieces that are overlooked, you know, that I need to have a little bit more deeper access to, right?
So then look, there is Neptune trine, so there is healing coming from this digging, even if you find some secret around that time, or there is forgiveness that flows in.
Yeah, so you have to use the moon, which is your emotional mind, and also your healing, the strengthening of your psychology. In order, you need to have strong roots. If you want to grow, you need to have strong roots. And this is also the sun that you are using. You are using the 24th degree, which is the Pisces degree of saying, we need to bring forgiveness. If you feel that you could not forgive yourself during the lifetime, allow me to do this for you. Allow me to do this for you, because you did the best you could with the knowledge and circumstances at hand. You got up in the morning and you were doing the best for the day, and this is all you could do, right? So allow me to create forgiveness for you. and you're using Neptune. This is healing and this is forgiveness and this is healing that is not always understood, right? It's not taking your tablet to make the headache go away. It is a different form of healing. It is a little bit on the spiritual side, and you're using Pluto in order to say, okay, let me have a glimpse. I hold no judgment. I am human. Let me have a glimpse of what was happening.
Beautiful.
Okay, I will look briefly at the last, what do I have here? I have 6th of April full moon. I need to find a chart for it. There it is.
Of April, you said?
6
April.
No.
Yeah, there's.
Is it
Libra?
Is it 6th of April? Yes. So it's a Libra full moon that we have. Okay. Why am I choosing this full moon again? For the simple reason, because one topic will keep reoccurring, and the topic will reoccur of you need to have courage. And Maya Angelou said, courage is the most important. I love this quote. Courage is the most important of all virtues, because without courage, you do not get to use the other virtues. You need to be courageous, and you have the sun in the sign of Aries, making you very bold, making you remain humble, but speak your truth. You know, you are there, you are supported by the an army of women standing behind you. Jupiter is there blessing it as well. And the moon is in the sign of Libra. So what is happening here? You know, you have the new moon prior to that. So from new moon, March 21st, from this beautiful new beginning until the full moon, do a lot to build up your inner warrior. And then if you can address the topics with the person that you are in a relationship in, that can be romantic, that can be a business relationship, that can be a partnership of any sort, where you are you're setting a goal and you're pulling on the same string to achieve this goal. This is the objective. Address it. Do not be shy to address it. You know, you will be well received. Just do it in a Venusian manner. You know, be kind. And if you know you have a lot of, for example, fire in your chart, make an effort to take it a notch down. Yeah.
Wonderful. So these are the ones you selected as the most important psychologically for us, all those full and new moons that you saw. And this one in particular happens exactly after the new moon in Aries, where it was about our warriors and building up our strength. And here is like, take out that need and share it with another. And it's Libra after all. You need to inform us about your intentions and and need to kind of negotiate how it's going to work.
And Aries is important. We have 2 new moons in Aries in 2023, one at 0 degrees, one at 29 degrees. So I keep repeating, it will be necessary for you to step into your inner warrior, or to put a higher quality on your inner warrior, because we might come from a space where the inner warrior is very strong, you know, and it needs to become more elegant in order to put more quality on you and attract more quality opportunities, circumstances, and people. Or your inner warrior is,
be down.
You know, needs to yeah, I don't feel it will be in every area. There might be some area of your life where it's very strong and good and healthy, you know, but there might be some areas where it needs a little bit support, and this has to start in your head. So building up this inner warrior in your head, grooming her, right, making her beautiful, you know, getting the jewelry that suits that. I don't know how I end up with that, but you know, just to groom yourself in a way that would align you with the inner warrior and say, okay, I am ready to conquer this area of life because I was not the boldest here, and I think I can do better, and I want to apply more quality to this area. So I need to be brave. I need to be brave, and this is very well supported. To be brave is very well supported in 2023.
Thank you so much. That's such an Aries year, absolutely. 2023. Thank you for looking at those most exciting and how you feel they're the most transformational or important full and new moons. I absolutely love your psychological perspective and the stories You so colorfully
Thank you.
attached to them to illustrate them. You made them alive. It's not just symbols. You gave this real life examples of how we can best manifest and use that energy. I absolutely love your mind. Absolutely
Thank you.
love your energy. And again, I repeat, if anyone would like a personal reading with Roma, I don't know, do you make also live readings?
Yeah, I do live readings. Okay, so I was quite in a shell because I have Pluto on my ascendant and Saturn on my moon. So I can do live readings, yes. But
grudgingly, but yes. Wow, you're so
okay, let's use
confident.
Aries. Let's do it. Let's do it. I
Yes,
have to.
exactly.
I can't preach water and drink wine. How do you say? So yes, let's do live readings.
Yeah, we can ask them because I think you're a treasure trove of knowledge and deep understanding. But I've had your written report on the moon, and I absolutely loved it. And it comes with remedies, with suggestions. It's beautiful. If anyone would like that one, and we'll add a personal reading with Roma, 60 minutes for whatever topic, like moon centered, psychology centered. Yeah, I hope you connect to the right people. I think you're a brilliant star of knowledge and wisdom. And I hope the right people will appreciate you and connect with each other. Thank you so much, Roma. Again, soon we'll make another interview with Roma, which is fascinating.
Yes.
Wait, I'm so excited about it. It's about
Very much.
the scary 8 and 12 houses from a very different
Yes.
that Roma will talk about. And stay tuned. But thank you so much for this peek into the most interesting full and new moons of 2023. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Roma.
Thank you. Thank you so much and stay blessed. Thank you, Lada.